Okay. So, okay, just for context, okay, I'm Matthew Upsall. It's 6/10/2022. Like maybe it's like a year, a bit more than a year later than my last video, which is a video about me reacting to my UC admissions. Oh, by the way, this is my Berkeley dorm. I'm not there right now because I returned home for the summer. Pretty much, I'm like in my parents' garage because we gave my room to my younger sister, so there's no space for me. So I sleep in the garage, but the garage is messy, so I'm covering it up in the background with something that's like slightly more aesthetic. So you can see that's like Oakland, I think. Yeah, I should know that because I lived there for a year. But okay, I wanted to do an update video about the college admissions process because I rewatched my prior video and I realized that all that really is 24 minutes of me eviscerating myself with some sort of misguided vision of what the college admissions process was. Um, and a large part of it was like me having like a flat idea of the admissions process and sort of creating that video as a form of absolution of my like high school sins. But like in actuality, okay, um, I feel like that video is gonna put like a million people on suicide watch. So I need to like update it to like I need to like re calibrate, I guess. My like with a newfound perspective, with me having gone through like we'll say a year at Berkeley, how that sort of changed my perspective um through like my interactions with other people and like learning about stuff in general. So again, I'm going to preface this at first by saying like again why I'm making this video. Then I have 3 points that I want to make that also complement that. With those 3 points being like demonstration, first a demonstration of conscientiousness, then second, demonstration of like extroversion and self-expression, and then third, the concept of complementing stats. So like those 3 topics I'll be shifting on to the end of like after I discuss like why I'm even talking about this in the first place. Because before I talk about those 3 things, conscientiousness, extroversion, again, those are like personality traits, but like I'll talk about why I chose those. And then complementing stats. I'm shifting those to the end because at first I want to preface this with why I'm so critical of my first video. So like the first point that I want to make is that each college campus is different and there is no formulaic way to get into all colleges because each college campus is different. So ironically, or not ironically, like by non-coincidence, by funny non-coincidence, okay, every one of the students who watched the video that I made prior to this got into Berkeley, and I got into Berkeley, okay, and like why is that the case, you know? So like if you try to envision the type of person that would watch that type of video and agree with that and sort of decide to embody that material, it's like depressed, self-eviscerating, like people that are obsessed with stats, you know? And that's literally what Berkeley is as a campus, right? And it speaks nothing as to your qualifications for a different campus, okay? What it does speak to is that there were admissions officers that were sort of admitted into that school with a certain set of values and a certain set of life experiences, right? Having gone through the Berkeley experience itself. And then they read through an application. And then after reading that application, they thought to themselves, I think this kid would be a good fit for this school. So like at Berkeley, with everyone having like such a grind set mentality and people being very focused on like issues of talent and competition, like of course people with the same we'll say value system of valuing stats and achieving things in terms of desire, I'll get into that later, achieving desires, we'll say, of course, those types of students would get admitted into Berkeley because that's what the Berkeley community essentially is, especially like the pre-med community. Oh, by the way, I am not an English major anymore. I am neurobiology. Um, big hop. But like you, the college people, the college admissions officers read the application and then they evaluate if the student will be a good fit. Okay. Um, if you're at Berkeley, then you want to have like that grind set mentality because that's how the culture is here, right? But the thing that I want to make a distinction between is accomplishing things based upon desires versus accomplishing things based on motivations, right? Um, the distinction there is like, do you accomplish things because there's an object of interest that you want in mind? Or do you accomplish things because there's a set of values that you have that are imbued inside of you that move you to do things? Okay. Essentially, it's like pushing motivation versus pulling motivations. And again, when I look at that video that I made like a year ago, I see that like, if you want to get into this school, you have to do this. Or if you want to get into this school, you have to do this. Or like, you have to like you have to demonstrate your passions, which is so like self-contradictory. Like you have to like you have to get a high SAT score. You have to do all these things with your GPA. You have to be competitive with your peers, right? But the thing is, like when you're evaluating someone as an entire person, you don't do things for the sake of getting somewhere. Okay. If you want to like be more interesting of a person, you do things because you've adopted a certain set of values that you've realized will make the world a better place. And then you act according to those values. And you don't care like what titles will end up attached to your name, but you will be moved by a mission that's greater than just that. Oh, yeah, Mom? Okay. Um, that was kind of funny. My mom came into my garage because there is a dead bird in the front yard and she wasn't sure what to do with it. Okay. But anyway, where was I? You act according to values, right? Like you want to be able, like in addition to your stats, in addition to like accomplishing things for the sake of getting somewhere, right? You also want to communicate the values that you've adopted that form your personality, that form your life experiences, that say, like, I want to do this for the world because I believe this, and this is true, right? And too much in that video, I see exclusively someone that's obsessed with accomplishing things that they believe that they want without acting upon anything that's actually in genuine authentic benefit for themselves, right? Because you can instrumentally accomplish things. You can say like, okay, like regardless if it's Berkeley or if it's Harvard or if it's some school with like a fancy name on it, I'll do these things, right? But it doesn't matter the school. Like instead of acting upon something like that, like would it not be better to act upon like some some like centralized beliefs that you think are right and are just, right? And then to say like, I think that this is my life mission and I'm presenting it to you, and then this is all the things that I have done to accomplish that. Like wouldn't that be something better? And that goes into my 3 points, because it's like it's a genuine holistic evaluation of a person, right? Because you're essentially putting them into context as an entire being, like beyond just a person that can read, write, and analyze really well. Okay, like me, not to brag. Uh, like like putting that aside, you're also evaluating them in their entirety. How do they influence other people? How can they make other people happy? Like what can they do better for the world, like using what we have on campus, right? So again, to remind you guys, my 3 points are conscientiousness, extroversion, then complementing stats, right? So then to discuss my first point, conscientiousness, okay? Um, like, okay, honestly, like I was super into like personality and psychology stuff, like even before I got into Berkeley. But like for some reason, like when I got into Berkeley, people were like really, it was like a cool party trick to be able to evaluate people's Myers-Briggs just by interacting them after a few conversations. So then they're like, oh my God, like I'm so happy I got into Berkeley because like there's so many interesting people. I was like, oh wait, I'm not that interesting. I just had like a 4.5 GPA and like actually it was 4.6. I was like, oh, I just had a 4.5 GPA and like I'm not that interesting. And then like I'm realizing, right, that like, dude, I can like have all these perfect grades, but if I don't have anything that I care about, then like what the fuck will I do with like a college diploma? There's like nothing that I'll do with that, you know? So conscientiousness, okay, my own definition of conscientiousness, okay, is the awareness of the full extent of the consequences of the actions that you decide to take. Okay. So what that means in terms of humans, right, is if you think about like a desire center in a human, right, if a human wants a cup of water, then they are aware of the fact that if they go into the kitchen and get a glass from the cupboard, that they can fill it up with water and then they'll get it. So 10 times out of 10, the human will take that action, right? However, like let's say if person X works 10 days every, not 10 days a week, if person X works out 5 times every week for 7 months, then they'll be in an extremely toned and attractive physique. That's objectively true, right? That's objectively true. If you accomplish this and this just through purely based, of course you have to diet, of course you have to like do your calorie deficits, right? If you do X, Y, and Z, right, by science, by the laws of nature, you will have that tone physique that you want. But not everyone does that, and that relates to consciousness, right? Because it relates in our capacity to accurately predict or accurately represent the consequences of our actions. Because conscientiousness is what leads to industriousness. It's what leads to discipline. It is what leads to productivity. Okay, so in college admissions, okay, the first thing that you have to demonstrate is you have to demonstrate some degree of conscientiousness, right? Some knowledge of like where your actions take you, right? And you do that through industriousness, through showing that you can work hard, right? And of course, right, complemented with industriousness is going to be like a high GPA, high SAT, whatever, right? Because it's more productive to think of these issues as things that are in your control, things that you can work hard to achieve. It's much better for your state of mind for you to believe that you can do anything that is like within your control, right? So in addition to just conscientiousness in terms of industriousness, I would like to sort of say conscientiousness is also self-awareness in the sense that you know what you want, right? Because not everyone knows what they want, right? Like people will enjoy scrolling through TikTok for 5 hours, right? But they will not necessarily want to scroll through TikTok for 5 hours because they understand that deep down they actually want something more than that, right? They want to like learn ukulele or they want to like become in better shape, right? If you know what you want, right, and then you act upon what you want because you're aware of where the consequences of your actions will take you, you will become like more you will become the version of yourself that you want to become. You'll become even like 10% closer to that, right? And that's something that is probably universally valuable in college admissions, right? People that know what they want are motivated by the values that they have developed and then have taken up the appropriate actions to carry out those values, right? So that's if you're interested in computer science, then you should show your passion. like you should act upon your desire to become better at computer science. You should study on your own, right? You should do research on your own. If you are very interested in the humanitarian aspect of pre-medicine, then you should be shadowing doctors at a primary care facility, because you understand that the knowledge that you will retain there will help you help people in the future, right? You should learn first aid. You should become CPR certified. And these are all things that are connected to human actions that a human can take in order to make themselves better. And that communicates so much more of your personality, at least when you contain it within an essay, than like some GPA statistic that's relative and competitive to other people, right? And again, that's probably why a lot of the Berkeley grinders landed at Berkeley, because Berkeley grinders just study and be suicidal. Okay, but anyway, that's first one, consciousness. And then two is extroversion and some degree of self-expression, right? So like when I say extroversion, okay, again, that's connected to like openness, right? It's your willingness to undertake activities that may be uncomfortable to you, right? So the edge case is like, oh my God, I'm gonna go skydiving. You don't have to go skydiving, okay? But at the very least, you need to be taking initiative to ask people for opportunities, right? You need to be like going through the trouble of surveying your area for things that you can do that are connected to your values and interests that you can go and you can accomplish well in, right? And of course, according to like your level of competency, you should be able to do very amazing and productive things for the world when you act according to those values, right? Of course, like assuming competency. Like if you're competent in computer science and you believe that the world would be a better place if more people like learn computer science, then why don't you offer to teach a course on computer science for school children at a local library? Like, like it's gonna be uncomfortable, right? You're gonna feel awkward and nervous. You're gonna think, oh, this is totally unfounded for me to do. But even taking initiative to try to do that speaks so much about your character, right? And of course, when you try and try and try and try again, eventually you're going to succeed. Eventually you're going to have that breakthrough moment where you realize that, hey, like I have actually done something substantial, right? That really matters to me, right? And again, like when I'm looking at that past version of me, I don't like I don't see that. You see like a bed that's empty and like well kept, and you see like a wall with no posters on it, right? There's no self-expression there. There's no like motivation, right? There's no actual true indicator of taking initiative to do something that matters to you, right? Even if it makes you uncomfortable. It's only like, okay, well, I got perfect grades because I literally did get perfect grades, except in PE, because I'm like physically incompetent. Like you, it's like you stayed within your comfort zone, right? But can you push that to like act upon the values that you have, you know? And that's like something that's also like insanely valuable for some college admissions, right? So you have to look for personal interests that you have, right? Like if you want to learn ukulele, you learn ukulele. Like if you want to like become buff, then exercise, you know? And again, um, it's better to be working um, it's better to be working for yourself, right, than to work for something. What I mean by that is like it's more healthy, and it says more about your character and personality if you work according to values and beliefs that motivate you rather than an object of desire that you're drawn to. Okay, like it's more sustainable, right? Because like the people who are most likely to succeed and who are likely to be the most industrious, regardless of the scenario, are the people who are going to be motivated by interest. Because if you have 100 different scenarios, right, and then you put a mixture of each type of person in there, right, and then you like shuffle them around according to the scenario, the people who act according to their motivations and desires will act the same in each scenario. They will try their best to accomplish what they want to accomplish, right, in each scenario. But the people who act according to a desire, the moment they're in a different desire, the moment where they're in a different scenario where that desire changes, you see that their work habits will change. Their like the way they will approach life will change. They will be like more, they're more enslaved to their circumstance, than if they had been acting on personal motivations and desires, right? Or not desires necessarily, but you guys know what I mean. Like, it's better for them to be motivated by something than for them to desire something that can spontaneously change, right? So, like, if you want to be a doctor, right, then you want to be a doctor because you believe helping people is the right thing to do, not because you believe the prestige is important. Because let's say you become a doctor, right? Um, but you don't go to a prestigious medical school, so you end up working at like a low tier, like hospital, we'll say. And again, you're probably earning like a good amount of money, but you will be substantially less motivated to carry out the actions that a doctor does than somebody who genuinely believes that it is in their best interest that they act in a humanitarian way, right? That type of person will create the greatest net utility in the world, right? That's the type of person who would probably be benefited the most from a college education, you know? Just saying. Okay. So like that's like huge, okay? Like, and then finally, the idea of complementing stats. To be honest, like this is self-explanatory, and I just thought of something that I really want to talk about, that I really wanted to tell my past self, you know? So complementing stats, like what I mean by that is like if you're trying to do things that are geared to your interest, or if you're just trying to do a bunch of different things, then like it will naturally ensue that your interest will also complement the stats that you have. So let's say your stats are like, oh, you took like a great diversity of different AP classes. Then the thing that's complementary to that is like, well, you also have tried a bunch of different things in your local community, right? You've tried volunteering here, you've tried volunteering there, you've tried instrumental orchestra there, you've tried working part-time there, you know? If you're geared towards something, right? If your stats are very high in like science, right? Then the things that you will do will be complementing that science. It's like, well, you will be like working in a lab, or volunteering at a hospital, or volunteering like to do like research papers at someone else, at like another lab, I guess. But like complementing stats, what that means is like your stats are like the raw bones of your competency, right? And like it's coming, we're sort of approaching this movement in society where we are realizing that the greatest utility in a college campus isn't necessarily to accommodate people with, we'll say, high fluid intelligence, right? Like, of course, fluid intelligence is going to be directly correlated with success, okay? But that won't necessarily provide the greatest net utility, right? Because you can have somebody with a massive amount of analytical capacity, someone who can be really smart and analyze really well. But if they do nothing for like other people, if they decide to like sit at home and like play video games all day, then all of that talent is like just wasted, you know? So like if you're on a college campus, then like that guy with like 200 million IQ, he can go like to community college, or like, you know, there's nothing wrong with community college, but he could go to community college for all the college cares about, right? If you want to just stay at home and play video games all day, right? It's not going to create any better utility for the world. It's not going to be a better application of the money that we're investing into the student, right? So it's much more preferential to have, like, we'll say somebody who has like an average amount of intelligence that says, yo, I'm committed to this movement, and like if you let me do this, the world will be net 2% better, which is a massive amount, just 2% better. And like, how much more valuable is that? You know, like that's something that you can't see just through stats. That's something that you see through someone's passions, through the interests that complement their stats, you know. And like, just as just as like a conclusion, this is the thing that I was thinking about like earlier that I really wanted to say to my past self, you know. It's like, there's no point in eviscerating yourself over things that are out of your control, right? And it's much better to just continually act in good faith of the future. Like, what I mean by that, it like honestly, like good faith is more of like a League of Legends term than it is like a religious term. Um, but like, what I mean by that is like I'll just talk to my past self, I guess, and maybe like you guys can like self-insert into Matthew, um, which is super weird. I don't know why you guys would want to be, but like, you like you're so um you want to cripple yourself and you want to emotionally harm yourself, um because you believe that that's the best thing for you, that that will prevent you from making the same mistakes in the future, right? That's only helpful for 5 minutes maximum. It's not helpful for 24 minutes long, that's for sure. um and it's not helpful to do that for a lifetime. um it's so much better to just say like, I'm going to worry about this for 5 minutes, and then I'll put this beside me, and then I'll have confidence in myself, um and like, I'll understand that like, there's things that are out of my control, like college, literally college admissions, right? And I will focus on prodding myself with the things that I've accomplished, because I know that that will act as better motivation for me in the future, right? Imagine if that video, instead of like talking about like how you had failed like in getting into the schools you wanted, like focused on like being excited for the schools that you did get into, and then recognizing your failures for a moment, and then thinking about all of the things that you want to do at these colleges. Like, think about how much happier that would have been for you. Think about like how much more productive you would be at that college. Think about how much more net utility you would create, right? And like, all of these things, okay, like, as, as to close onto like one more theme of like personality, like, I want to focus on personality, because at the end of the day, our personalities are one of the ways that we have most control over our life, right? Um, it seems we control the um, we control the order in which we set our actions in terms of preference. Okay, like we control the way we approach life. That's what I mean. We control the way we approach life, right? We control the way we approach life through like self-awareness, journaling, like like emotional awareness, emotional intelligence. We control all those things, which is why like at the end of the day, a lot of these issues with like college admissions, right? A lot of these issues with accomplishing things that you want have to do with the way you approach life, you know? Um, and I don't know, like hopefully you guys can see like a major difference in perspective between me and like Matthew of a year ago. For one thing, I have sunlight. Well, you can't, but you can kind of see it on my oily forehead. But like I have, my window is open. Oh, okay. My windows are boarded up in my other room, which is probably also why I was probably so depressed. But like, I've changed a whole lot in a year. I got a perm too, that's like self-expression, like I'm expressing my desire to be a Filipino fuckboy, even though that's like totally opposite of my personality. Great. Oh, I also changed my glasses. Um, that's not really whatever. I'm still wearing a sweatshirt though. But like again, like I can change um a rapid amount. I'll continue to change and grow, right? And I think I want everyone who sort of adopted the belief set from my prior video to be assured that it's so much better for you to become a better person overall than for you to get into the college that you think you want, right? Um, and like honestly, like you will be exposed to that once you meet new people, once you interact with people, once you're able to make people laugh. You're gonna find that, and that's how I sort of help myself. And I really want people who are like depressed over those admissions decisions to just like take a deep breath and then regroup and then just sort of try their best to count what they do have. Because like a lot of the time, we have a lot more than we think. And it's much more productive to think in that way um, than to think of everything that we don't have, you know? So I'll just post this update video. Um, like at this point of time right now, my prior video is like 113 views. So like maybe that's like 113 other students who I shared my depression with. And like hopefully they didn't like catch it and become infected by it. Um, so maybe I'll post like another update video in like a year. But like I hope I can make the world a better place. Um, yeah, we'll just try our best to do that. But okay, I'm gonna log off. Um, yeah, still low quality video, just like my work in high school. Okay, bye.